Hi, let's start with basic programming concept today. So finally we are going to start with the programming language, like which we are going to see JavaScript at the first stage, and same way proceeding with Node.js, MongoDB and all those uh, subjects we'll see, and after that we'll go for creating the project. Okay. So till now, whatever you have seen, those all are like creating a view part. Okay. Now you are going to see when the view, when from the view, when we take the data, what the data should be, how the data will process and sent to the server, and how the response will be sent back to the client. Okay. So that we are going to see. But before that, we are going to discuss we have like what is the overall architecture of the software. Okay, what and all the fields are available, what and all the subjects is required for each part. Okay, so overall pictorial representation you can see here. See, here is web browser, which we just now discussed, right? Using HTML and CSS we designed some web browser, right? UI we designed, which we opened on the web browser, and we opened and we checked, okay, this is the form. Now once the form is created, then after that whenever you click the button on that form, try to submit the form, what happens, the data has to get collected from the form, and that data through HTTP request. I mean, there should be some protocol, right? Like whenever you go to any website, you will see there is either HTTP or either HTTPS, right? So based on some protocol, internet protocol, it will take the help of internet, and it will transfer the data from UI to server. Okay. Now in server, when the request will go to the server work is, first server has to run in finite way, right? Because if server is there, then only the request can go to the server. So first thing is we have to create a server, so that we will see. Okay, next is, once the server receives the message, what server does, server check the message like for what the request has came. If the request has came for this, then server just go to database, okay, by taking that request and send it to database and ask for the data. Okay, I have this query came from the front end, so just you check here and tell me which is the matching data related to this query. So once the data will match in the database, then what happens, data from database, the response entire data will return back to the server. Once the data will return back to the server, what server does, server will process that data once again. Like, I got this type of data from the database, but I have to make the data which can be easily consumable by the UI. So server, what it does, it will just process the data again, and then it will just send back to the UI. So all this process which you saw, like when we are sending the data from the UI to server, server accepting the input from client, and then server process that data which is required by the MongoDB, that process the query, that query sending to the database, server and database connectivity, server creation, database creation, and then once database receives that query, and then database process that query and get the data from it, and once the data has been sent back to the server, that events, so many events are performing, and all the events we have to do in our course. Okay, so basically the data which is taken by the user, that is the work of front end development. Okay, and the data which is to be transferred to the server, that also work is of front end development. Okay, but when the server creation, the database creation, the server responding, taking the request from the client, server processing the request of the client, server sending the request to the database or asking some external in system, okay, whatever is required, all those things we are going to study in further. Okay, so our main task is to do the backend application architecture. Okay, so how the server created, how the database created, how the server and database got connected, how the communication happens between servers and the database. So all those things we are going to study in our course, because we are not having any like topic or anything related to front end development, we are majorly focusing on back end development. Okay, but in spite that, you have to know, like, okay, if someone wants to be front end development, what and all technology or what and all language they need. So as a UI design and development, we need HTML, CSS. If you are going for advanced UI and all, you need Angular, React and Vue. Then you need language as JavaScript and jQuery. Language is nothing but it's like a syntax or principle or rule from which we can follow and we can proceed or do our work. Okay, that is the language. Okay, which we can communicate to the system. Okay, so that is the work of front end. Now back end, what and all things are required? First thing back end required is JavaScript. So you can see the person learning JavaScript can do both the thing. They can do front end work also, they can do back end work as well. That is the only reason JavaScript is so popular sudden. Previously what was the case? JavaScript was not able to run on the backend or on the terminal. JavaScript was only able to run on the web browser. But when the Node.js has came into exist, that time we are now able to execute the JavaScript code inside the terminal. Okay, so that's why now we are able to create a server. But previous days, what was there? If you want to become a front-end developer or full stack developer, then what you have to study? Either you have to study Python or you have to study PHP, and you have to study two different languages. You have to study front end as JavaScript, HTML, CSS, and then you have to study back end as again PHP, either Java or Python. So different language you have to maintain every time in your mind. But when JavaScript got popular, when Node.js came into exist, then what happens? Person understanding only one JavaScript can do front end plus back end work. Okay, front end plus back end work means entire application you can generate, you can create by yourself if you have understanding of JavaScript. That is the reason we are going to focus very deep in JavaScript. We are going to acquire the knowledge on JavaScript very deeply, so that it will be helpful for us in coming working on the project, in the matter of going to company and working there. So everything, every aspect JavaScript will help. And the more you will understand the JavaScript, the more deep level understanding will be there in JavaScript, the more better you will perform on the company. Okay, so server tool is Node.js, Express.js. So these are all the JavaScript framework. Its a syntax is JavaScript language only, but the features are different. Both are created for different features. Okay, Node.js and Express.js. So we are not going to bother about HTML, CSS, jQuery, Angular, React and Vue. Nothing we are bothering now. We are not going to check this. We are just going to check these all. Okay, very simple. JavaScript we are going to check, Express we are going to check, Node.js we are going to check, MongoDB we are going to check. So server tool means Node.js, Express.js, JavaScript. Database tool is MongoDB and Mongoose is the library. So by taking all this in our knowledge, we are going to create a backend development or API, okay, which can be consumable by front-end person. Okay, so basic our motto is this. So next we are seeing here real-time example of software development. Means whenever you go to any website, you will see there is a login page, there is a sign up page. So once you type the detail like email and password, after typing the detail email and password, what happens? You will just click on the login button or sign up button. What happens? That two data will go in this format. Okay, will go in this format, that email as this, password as this. Through the internet, it will go to the web server. Once web server receives that query like email and password, it will send to the database and it will check, okay, with this email and password, what is the record here available? So it's matching to Sandeep record because the email is Sandeep. So based on the details, it will just match it here. Once the match found, it will just transfer the data, entire Sandeep detail back to the server, and server will transfer back to the client. If the positive response is coming from the database, then from login page you will go to home page. But if negative response, if let's suppose you are passing email ID, password, any mistakes or any wrong credential you are passing, which is not able to match to the database, then that time what happens? From database, bad response will go and it just restrict or avoid the access to the data, whatever it is stored in the database. Okay, so understood these all? This much you understood? Okay. Yeah, yeah, yes, yes, yeah. Sorry, what is it? Okay, John and Matthew. So this is one simple database I have created where I have defined, okay, one person data, that is Sandeep, another person data, that is John, one more person data, that is Matthew. But I have got a query for Sandeep. So that's why I have created in database 1000 data will be there, but it is going to match only Sandeep data. So that's why Sandeep is going to return. Okay. So basically, this is the complete flow. If you understand this complete flow, no, how exactly software development happens, okay, and for this front end, 2 3 people will be there in your company. If you go and join any company, for this project, for this part, 2 3 people will be there. That among that, you will be there, okay, for this entire. So your work will be to creating server, your work will be to creating MongoDB, your work will be to connecting server and a database, your work will be to communicate from server to database and database to server, to process the request coming from the data, to send back the response back to the UI after taking the response from the database. If only you are seeing here database, it might happen like you want to access file, it might happen you want to access printer, monitor. So everything will be handled by server. Okay, server is the controller. It kind of like controlling the things. It process the request, it process the response. It will command like where the things should go first. So it, you might ask, okay, open on the printer, or you might ask like, okay, print something. So what happens, like server will contact to the printer, try to establish the connectivity to that printer, and then it will transfer the data to print. Then printer will react and will get back the response to the server. Okay, so this is the overall picture of the software development, and the person who has knowledge on front end and who has knowledge on back end is called as full stack developer. Okay, but we are going to study only back end development. Once you go to the company, you might get chance on doing front end, no problem, you just do that, you will get experience and you will get good at that as well. Okay, but major focus for us will be back end development in this course. Okay, so next, so doing all these things, we have to learn one language called JavaScript. So now we are going to, because see, you have to create a server, you have to create a database, but if you have to communicate between that, but to communicate there should be one language, right? There should be one language to communicate, like how I am communicating to you through English language. So like that only the things, the systems will be communicating through some of the language. So that language we have to learn first, because if we, yeah, yeah, I am only teach backend application, and I am till now I have done full stack, but 70% work for me is backend till now. Okay, because backend is very like somewhat tough kind of job, but having good like, what is that, thinking level, logical thinking will be more. Front end will have more libraries kind of attachment and all. Okay, but backend will have like completely logical kind of things. Okay, so that is the reason we'll study only backend. Okay, fine. So yeah, so we are going to study JavaScript, because once if you are going for any war, first you will prepare all your tools, right? All your weapons. If you don't have the knowledge of weapons, you can't do anything with that weapon for your war, right? So JavaScript is a weapons. Node.js, Express.js is a weapons. So first you weapons, you have to learn how to use it, how to like make it use for which purpose. Then only you can utilize in your project. While creating project, you have to utilize all your knowledge of all these things. Then it will be easy for you to create any project or create any task. Okay, so these are all the overall picture of software development. Now next, direct we will move on to JavaScript, or directly move on to basic programming concept. First we won't go in deep level. Our syllabus will be first every topic studying, but very light. Okay, it's just like what and uses, like that. Next we'll deep dive, and then we'll study where and all it is uses, how many way it is uses, other what concepts are there inside. Okay, how the more you will study deeper, the more knowledge you will get, and the more advanced concept also you will understand slowly, slowly. Okay, fine. So before that, I just wanted to show you the syllabus. Okay, so we have completed with HTML, CSS, dynamic web page, and we are going to start with basic programming concept where we are going to study variable, functions creation. So these are all very basics for any software development. This is not related to any JavaScript, or this is not related to any other language. This is like generic, any programming language you are going to study, you have to go through these concepts. So how the variable is created, what is exactly variable means, how the function is created, what is the use, operators, looping, break and statement, arrays and strings. So all those things first we will go very, like very light. It's like just what is this, what is that, what is this. So once this you will understand, then we will go for deep dive of variable, scopes, and so many things we'll go through slowly, slowly. Okay, so these are our plan, because I don't want you to take one place and go into deeper, because you will get lost. So my motto is to first make you understand what that things is, so that you will revise and you will try to understand the things, and then again coming back to the same topic, I'll give you the deeper knowledge of that. Okay, so this is the way we will proceed further. Okay, so let me start once again. So JavaScript variable, as we saw, like there is a variable. Before variable, I wanted to discuss, like, see, if you have chocolate in your hand, so if you see the chocolate, you have to keep the chocolate, you will see the chocolate is in the wrapper, right? Chocolate wrapper will be there, right? Or in the cartoon box will be there the chocolate. So you bring one cartoon box, chocolate of full filled of chocolate. Now after chocolate will get over, it doesn't mean like you will throw that cartoon, right? You will try to keep, you can keep chocolate also, you can keep biscuit also. So same cartoon is there, right? Same carton box is there, but you can keep so many things there, you can keep different things there, right? So that is like kind of varies, like various things you can keep in that carton, right? So same way, to, because we need, because in software development we have to just manipulate with the data, we have to play with the data, you have to get the data from the user, you have to take the data, you have to process the data, you have to send to the server the data, server will do the processing of the data. Means everywhere we are just talking about data. Okay, entire software development we are just talking about data, how to capture the data, how to do things with the data. So that data is required to stored somewhere, because everyone wants chocolate, then the chocolate should be stored some box, right? So that box is nothing but it's a variable. The name of the box is nothing but it's a variable, because the carton box which I told you, it's a various things we can keep. Sometimes we can keep chocolate, sometimes we can keep biscuit, sometimes we can keep bread or anything, whatever we want, right? So basically, so to create a variable in JavaScript, variable is nothing but it's a space, it's a memory, like how carton has some space where we can keep anything. So same way, variable is nothing but it's a space, memory, like how you create a folder in your drive. You will create multiple empty folder in your drive, and in that folder you will put your like media files or documents and all those things. So folder is empty. Either you can keep media drive, or you can keep files, or you can keep music files, any type of file you can keep, right? So that is nothing but we are taking that example as a variable. So to create a variable in JavaScript, we will define var keyword, var. So var keyword, and the name of the variable we will define. So var, name of the variable is data. Like how to relate this? Like you have carton box named with KitKat. Means it's a KitKat carton box. Means by seeing that name in the box, like okay, it's a KitKat. It's in the box it's written KitKat. Means that box is KitKat box. So by seeing that name, we understand, okay, this box is basically for the chocolate, the KitKat chocolate, right? So like that only, I have one box, we are going to create one box. If we write only var data, it means like create a box having the name data, like how we are giving the box name as KitKat 5 star. So like that only we are giving the name as data, and that box have nothing, empty. So that's why I have kept in programming language nothing empty is empty plus undefined. Means nothing has been defined, nothing has been initialized for that box, because that box is blank only with the name. But when we keep something, like see in the carton, if I keep chocolate, that will become chocolate box. If I keep biscuit, then that will become biscuit box. Right? So till now we have not defined what should be there in the box. That is, we are writing undefined. So when you create a variable called var space data, that time when you try to print data, you will get output as undefined. Means you have created a variable, you have created a memory, but that memory used for what type of things, that we are not defining. So when it will define, when we will pass data equals 10, means when I am assigning that same data, same box, if I am assigning 10, then what you will think now? You will think like, okay, I kept 10 inside this box, means this box only takes integer value, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, like that, integer value. Till we didn't define 10 to the data, we were not having any aware, like it can't be number, it can't be integer, it can be string, it can be anything. So that time it was not defined, but once we wrote some value, once we, because it's like once we keep some chocolate in the box, then only we define, okay, this box is keeping for chocolate. If we keep biscuit, then okay, this box is for biscuit. So till we want keep, that box is for nothing, it's just a space, free space. Okay, so that is the one. So like this we will create a box, and this box or variables will be used for storing our data, because see, whenever we typed anything on the UI, that form, name, phone, email, so all those things will be captured and stored in the variable. So that variable will take that data as it is to the server. Okay, and server will take that data in other variable, because everyone has their own box. Okay, they are just transferring data from this box to that box. Okay, so understood what is variable mean all about? Understood what is JavaScript variable, why variable is required, what is the use of variable? So in these things, two things you understand: what is the variable, why, what is the use of the variable to store the data. Okay, when variable is created, what is there inside, that is undefined. When something is signed, then variable has only integer, means the type of the data which you are getting. Okay, because this data equal to 10 defines, okay, integer type of data only we can store in this data, right, in this variable. Huh? Store the data, yes, store the data, that's it. And it can store one data at a time. Okay, it can store one data at a time, only one data every time. Either you can store 10, or you can store 11, or you can, if you store 10 and again you are going to store 11, then 10 will get deleted, because we think like that box is only for one thing, to keep only one thing. Okay, so this is basically the variable. Now I'll give you some document regarding the variable, what variable and all is, then you will understand what is the variable problem. Okay, so why we are using variable, we understood, because the form which we saw in the registration form, login form, that data, whatever user type, that should be transferred to the server. But how we can transfer to the server? We have to keep something. Let's suppose you want to transfer your product, you have created one very nice chocolate or very nice dish, you want to transfer from one place to another place. You can't transfer as it is, right? You have to wrap it with some cover, you have to like make it some parcel box and all, then you can transfer safely to some place, right? So that parcel box, that cover box is nothing but variable. Okay, understood? No any doubt in the variable? Because one topic you have to understand very like thinking way, very visualized way. Okay, fine. So I'll stop class. Okay, tomorrow we'll discuss further. Okay, bye.